I just got off the phone with a husband client who wanted to understand from me exactly what kind of right over the property does his wife have when his father is the owner of the premises in which he, the husband, as well as his wife, they are residing. I explained to him that in any circumstance whatsoever, the wife does not have any ownership rights in this said property in which they are residing right now, which is owned by his father. However, there is a very, very powerful tool in the hands of his wife, which is residence orders under the Domestic Violence Act. And the Domestic Violence Act says that if an aggrieved person files a complaint before the concerned court and during the pendency of these proceedings, it transpires, even prima facie, even on the face of it, there seems to be an opinion that yes, domestic violence has been committed, which is very important here, which means that only on the allegations, the wife does not need any proof, the wife does not need to show that she is, actually suffered anything before these orders are passed. As an interim measure, at the very outset, at the very beginning of these proceedings, the wife is entitled to protection orders of the court in the sense that the court will direct the husband as well as his father that you cannot remove this lady from your house. She has the right to reside in the premises. Now, the Domestic Violence Act also provides that if a lady is residing in this premises, she just has the right to residence. She cannot prohibit the other person from coming inside either. However, there is another provision saying that if she again, after obtaining these residence orders, she comes back to the court and says that the domestic violence which I had alleged is still continuing, the male members of the house can be ordered by the court to be removed from the premises. So the mother-in-law can still remain in the premises. However, the father-in-law and the husband himself and any other male relative can also be pushed out of the house by the orders of the court. And so, of course, I understand, we all do, that the Domestic Violence Act was also passed keeping in view the plight of wives who have been tortured by in-laws and then thrown out of the house. However, it did not envisage a case where in situations where there is just a misunderstanding between the parties or there is no atrocity or torture committed by the husband or his family members, yet the wife, just to put pressure on the husband's family in this particular scenario, will try to retain possession and will use this as a bargaining tool to demand a greater settlement amount when the matter does move towards compromise. I am not saying that every case filed by wives nowadays is a false case. Allegations are false. However, we must not forget that there is always, whenever a law is passed in the favor of some particular section of society, there is always potential for abuse. And if you are a person who may suffer such abuse of a law which is pinned against you, you must also be ready to take certain steps. I remember a few months ago, this client came to me and said that his wife has filed false cases. And in the discussion, it transpired that this person had on loan purchased a premises and he was paying the EMI. His wife had left that place after beating him black and blue, and he had called the police, and she went back to her hometown, filed her cases over there. I told him that while we are filing your cases and seeking your remedies against the wife, you must also start the process and immediately, as soon as possible, sell this premises as well. He asked why, because I'm going to sell it at a loss in the current real estate market. And I said that even though she is the perpetrator, she has no evidence of any violence, anything that you have committed against her. In fact, you have concrete proof of her beating you up. Yet, by her mere allegations, she can ensure her right to possession in that premises, which means effectively that you will not be able to reside in that premises because of the earlier discussion, and you will also not be able to sell the premises to anybody else. And on top of that, you will be mandated to keep paying the EMI of this premises, which was a lot of money. And therefore, with everything pitted against us, the client took several weeks, but he was finally able to actually sell off that property during the pendency of the dispute between the parties. The lady, when she understood that the husband is also filing his cases against me, she rushed to the city where the husband had this premises, and she tried to forcefully enter the premises, and it was almost comedic in the way that the client used to keep calling me again and again and trying to strategize exactly how to prevent this from happening. And I explained to him, hook or crook, keep this lady out, sell off the premises, and then she can go to the court of the Metropolitan Magistrate. She can avail of her remedies, but she will have to prove them. At least just on the basis of her bald, completely baseless allegation, she will not be able to take kabza of this premises that you have purchased at a huge amount of financial risk and financial burden on yourself. We were able to finally sell off the property. He was able to pay off his loan and also recover his money that he had spent. Of course, it is still open to his wife to go to court and prove her case after several years and to recover that amount. But at least he was able to save himself from this huge issue. If we look at it from the angle of the wife, I have a wife client who has I would like to think who has a very, very genuine case. I strongly believe in her case because all the evidence is pitted in her favor, and all the evidence goes against the husband. The husband was having affairs, used to be black and blue this wife, who was not so educated. And when she came to me, we were able to go to the court of the Metropolitan Magistrate in Delhi, and we were able to secure residence orders for her, so that she, being from another city, not having any financial resources for herself and her very young child, the husband having abandoned her, but at least she was living in that house. We were able to get orders from the magistrate court under the Domestic Violence Act, the same provision, so that this should not happen, that one night, at say maybe 1 or 2 a.m., this man shows up with a couple of gundas, even despite calls to the police, or maybe he pays the local police some money and he grabs the lady and her son and throws them out on the streets. That should also not happen. We were able to get these orders, and now, thankfully, because of these orders, for the past almost 1 year, the husband has come and done several horrific things, but at least he's not pushed out this lady, because he knows he will invoke the wrath of the Metropolitan Magistrate, who has ordered him to not dispossess her by any means whatsoever. So, talking about the pros and cons, it is definitely a very, very beneficial piece of legislation for women who are genuine victims of domestic violence. However, there is a lot of potential for abuse as well, as I keep seeing in a lot of my cases. And this is something that every husband, if he is innocent, if he is afraid of false cases by the wife, should be aware of. And of course, wives who are victims of domestic violence, this is also something that they should be aware of. It's a very, very powerful tool. There is a lot of potential for good, but a lot of potential for evil as well.